able to connect to the RTMP server?
Oh, there we go.
Cool. Well, haven't really missed anything. Just a lot of movement, so...
Thank you, Tina.
No problem.
Sorry for the stream derp. We're back. We're live. Fortunately, according to airemlis, you didn't miss much. Just moving around. And thank you so much to our wonderful Valkyrie Tina, who programmed this entire RTMP machine and has gotten it ready for us. We've been working on it since, or she's been working on it since Speedrun Ragnarok, so this is pretty impressive. And I think this is the only derp in our burp in the machine that we've had.
Yeah, shoutouts to late night tech support.
Expect to win this easily. This was not perfect.
So I believe we were live for the one major photon puzzle that we do during this run. Is to pick up this accessory called the Power Bangle, which is a 30% flat multiplier for our attack and is kind of broken. It's one of the few accessories, or is the only accessory actually, that stacks with itself. But unfortunately we won't be getting all three of them, only two. But two is more than enough to turn Alicia into the god that she will soon be. Way back at the beginning of the game, she said, I'm not that great of a fighter. She is definitely lying. But here, the first major source of RNG for the boss of this dungeon, the dragon zombie. He has a 60% chance to drop a dragon rib from his chest area, and we will be doing our darndest to get it from him. So here's hoping for the best.
The gem within grants strength to these corpses.
Second try, Rizard. It was pretty close, though. And the damage rolls for Dylan there all look really good, so we're definitely in business for steamrolling this boss. We're just hoping for a good drop.
Big no money, no whammies.
Yeah. RNG bless. That would be the appropriate time right now. So fortunately it gives us a nice attack here that we can just slide right up into his face and wail on it to break it. That gives us access to his chest, which, as I mentioned, is where we want to get the dragon rib from. So here's hoping for the best. Well, that's an odd attack. I almost never see him use his tail attack when you're right in front of him. That's almost counterintuitive. And there's the dragon rib. Perfect. Very nice. First try. Actual first try.
I feel unprepared.
So the reason we need the dragon rib there is it is a huge attack boost based on your missing HP, as well as I believe there's actually an additional effect when you are in critical HP as well. And since we were at 1 HP this entire time, obviously you can see why that would be kind of important. But more to the story here. Lo and behold, we have finally found our dragon orb. But some very unfortunate events take place around it. So Leone finally reveals herself to us. She is actually the Valkyrie Hrist, and she betrays us and steals the dragon orb from us. And Arngrim, our other member. Sorry, did you need to get in there?
No, that's so evil of her.
Yeah. Arngrim takes kind of offense to this. You know, he likes to think that he is a valorous person and doesn't take too kindly to it, and it ends up attacking Hrist. But he definitely receives the end of her spear and doesn't fare too well. But Hrist, being the Valkyrie that she is, decides that Arngrim would make a pretty good Einherjar. So not only do we lose Leone from our party, but we also lose Arngrim. So if you were using them casually, that it really sucks that you're short 2 members. But the game does kind of incentivize you to level them up a lot, because you get specific rewards based on their levels when they leave the party. And I think at level 40, which is like insanely over leveled, you get probably the most overpowered weapon for Alicia in the game. So if we casually, if you wanted to like just completely bust open the game and play for free, that's how you would do that. But that's a lot of time to do that, and we don't have that much time. So, but now we do know that the gods have the dragon orb, and we're kind of left out in the dark about what to do. So we decided to go back to Japan. Hrist does mention that now that they have the dragon orb, they can pretty much just freely do whatever they please. And she's already mentioned before that they intend to take the gods intend to take their vengeance out upon Japan for blaspheming and all this. And this cutscene here that we are skipping actually shows Odin giving the orders to invade Japan to Hrist. So that map I picked up earlier let me come back to this area, and lets me go back through the fields to our very first area. What we're intended to do is we're supposed to go over a mountain and all that fun stuff, and that's just no fun. So we're gonna go back this way. It's much faster. This particular section coming up as well is again a little bit loaded with RNG. As I mentioned quite a bit ago, there's specific accessories that allow you in certain combinations to learn skills and such. And I'm going to be farming for 2 particular items here to learn 2 skills. One is Solitary Struggle and one is Magician Slayer. Solitary Struggle boosts your stats based on the number of dead party members. Which is going to come in handy quite often because we will be sacrificing them very frequently. And Magician Slayer is another of the critical attacks, similar to Giant Slayer and Undead Purifier. And pretty much every boss in the game qualifies as a mage, so you can put together how that might very quickly be a very strong thing to grab. So I'm just gonna set up for farm here, and hopefully it won't take too long. It usually only takes a couple of battles, but you never know sometimes. Wait, no, that's one more. There we go. Okay. To make it safe to save, because these battles are pretty risky. Like, we are at 1 HP at all times, and sometimes you just don't get lucky and bad things happen, but we'll try and mitigate that as much as possible. Also, I hope you enjoy the Royal Underground Passage here. This is definitely not the last time we will be here, and obviously not the first. The devs really like this area for whatever reason, so hope you enjoy it. Oh, I'm mashing the wrong button there. I don't even need to mash. It's a very slow menu. Oh well. Poor Jessica thinks she's gonna be helping fight the good fight, but she's really just an AP machine and a stat boost machine. So this is actually the ideal fight I want to find. This drops both the items that I need, and hopefully we will be getting them first try. It's a little off on the setup, no big deal. The very tip of that left shield is the first item that we're looking for, called the assault missile, which I didn't get there. That's fine. Ooh, that is not good. Yeah, and that's the part where safety save comes into play. It just so happens that that attack is like a 25% chance, and I'm almost guaranteed to be in range of it, so oh well. What I will do, however, is I will go to the next save point and make a new, fresh safety save and do my farming at a different spot, just because it's a little slow to grab the light warrior every time. Dying is indeed bad sometimes. Most of the time it's okay because we have someone alive, but not that time. So usually I would just be trying to get my equipment there, but no dice today. No big deal though. So we'll be coming back for this guy right here. He's going to be our new farm spot, but first we're going to make our second safety save. Yeah, as Rizard mentioned, the setup for getting the break on the assault missile there is pretty tight. It's fairly consistent once you get the hang of it, but unfortunately bad things happen sometimes. Ooh, and this is a bad thing. This is the worst possible encounter. Technically I can get an item I need from it, but I'm not about this fight, so we'll just run away, get a fresh encounter. Hopefully. There we go.
Couldn't maintain our front line.
So this works. Not necessarily the solo beast horn that I would have liked to see, but this is fine. Oh, and I got the evergreen scales too. So I don't need the Damascus ore off the big guy here anymore. I'm really just looking for the assault missile now, which hopefully I will be getting here. No dice. Unfortunately, he is blocking my exit. I might just kill him for experience, just for safety purposes. Although he did turn pretty quickly. I'll just, yeah, we'll just run. Because he generally just kind of sits there when you're trying to run away, while most monsters will try and chase you, but that guy just, for whatever reason, doesn't really care.
I shall show the enemy who their true master is.
That's a little too close. That's alright.
Firestorm.
Alright, I'll give it one more try, and then I will go to the unfortunate backup. I really don't like having to rely on it, but in the name of continuing along with the marathon, I don't want to be sitting here farming the same monster over and over for however long it takes. And there is a better chance for getting it later, but unfortunately it likes to troll.
We cannot expect to win this
And
easily.
it's a little bit more inconvenient to try and farm, so I would really like to get it here.
We'd just be wasting our time.
You're absolutely right, Dylan. Just be wasting our time. Ah, come on, give me the right encounter at least.
Be careful.
So a little unlucky to counterbalance my pretty good luck so far. I guess I can't complain too much. I've had worse, so. Oh, 3 for 3! Alright, well, maybe I shouldn't count my chickens before they hatch, because, we're really not so lucky here. It's a 50% chance to get at least the enemy that I'm looking for. That's not it either.
Don't worry. I will do my part.
We'd just be wasting our time.
Alright, since I'm a little superstitious, I'm gonna change screens, and it has totally no effect on the encounter, but I'm doing it anyways.
I shall show the enemy
I
who their
swear.
true master is.
I swear it doesn't take this long usually.
Only fools fight battles from which they have
But
nothing
if
to gain.
this is gonna be my marathon luck, the bad spot where I have it, then I'll take this any day.
The only thing I
Rather than
seek is
dying to
perfect
Odin
victory.
many times later.
Switch to marathon.
Don't follow us.
Please? There we go. This is an encounter I can work with.
Survival.
Firestorm.
There it is. Alright, perfect. Cool, he didn't annihilate me for it either. So since Dylan needs to learn Solitary Struggle, I'll go ahead and complete out this fight normally. And then afterwards we'll be teaching Alicia Magician Slayer, which, as I mentioned earlier, is very important for this run. Pretty much trivializes all the bosses that she will be participating in.
It was a hard battle.
I wouldn't say it was a hard battle, Dylan. It was a hard series of battles. And if you had just gotten me my item on the first one, we wouldn't have had this struggle. Oh, well. I forgot to plant bridge down. It's not necessarily important, but it does help with some of the boss strategies up ahead, with juggling them in the air. Yeah, of the 4 possible formations, 2 of them have the Rhino, and for whatever reason, that one shows up pretty much more often than anything. But at least we get to move on. Just before we make it to Japan, we run into the god Ol, or Oler, depending on your preference of pronunciation. He's basically acting as rearguard for the assault on Japan. But unfortunately, he's going to get a little run over here by Dylan and company. That's a little far. That's fine though. So I'm gonna try and push him down to about half HP before I sacrifice my other party there. And I'm really trying to monitor how much AP usage I have, just so that I can, I'm able to dash my other sacrifice party to give me more AP. Ooh, that guard did not cooperate. That's fine though. We will make it work. And actually, it's kind of worked out okay because now I can sacrifice Lazard as well. Usually they would die at the same time. So, hidden benefit. He might Feather Guard. Okay, he didn't. Cool. Actually, I'm just gonna do this. Yeah, there's the Feather Guard. That's a little unfortunate, but at this point it doesn't really matter. That's just gonna put a little barrier on him, preventing a little bit of damage, but ultimately it's not gonna save his life at this point. So yeah, we just wail away on him there. Yeah, if he was a little bit lower, he might have been able to cast heal. I'm not actually sure the exact threshold for that, but fortunately he did not. No harm, no foul. So on to Japan we go. But it turns out we are a little late. The gods have wrought their destruction upon Japan. I mean, the city isn't even there anymore. The castle is left in ruins, and yeah. Not a pretty sight if you're a fan of Japan. We did, however, find out that the king, Alicia's father, is being publicly executed. And if you've played Valkyrie Profile 1, this is where the stories of the two intertwine. When Lenneth is sent back in time from the basement of the castle of Japan, this is the exact scene that you see where Barbarossa is executed, and why he goes in such a rage that he does. Actually, no, I need to check my party. I need Lazard to be in the right spot. So actually, Lazard living there is a little weird. It shouldn't have happened, but it's not really gonna upset any experience routing or anything. So the mages kind of betray the kingdom. They pretend to do her spitting, and I forebode with the word pretend there. They actually don't care to do anything with her, but they are still trying to preserve their own lives after all. So they are setting up the execution of the king, but we obviously take offense to that and are trying to stop them. Unfortunately, had a pretty good pattern to start out here, so we just get to wail away on him. So pretty good fight there. But unfortunately, even though we take out the mages, Hurist orders Arngrim, which, by the way, Arngrim's back, working for Hurist, orders Arngrim to finish the execution, and off goes the king's head. This throws Alicia into a fit of basically hysteria and anguish, as, you know, rightfully she should be. But now we are concerned with the queen, Alicia's mother. Again, if you've played Valkyrie Profile 1, you know that the queen is actually stored, or not stored, but hidden away safely in the other part of the castle. But unfortunately, due to the grief and all of losing her kingdom and all that, she doesn't make it through either. So now we're trying to get our vengeance with Hurist for the events that happened. So yeah, we're gonna go for the 1v1 or the 2v2 really. And for the boss fight itself, I'll just get this out of the way now. The arena is actually the boss here. Unfortunately, Square Enix and Tri-Ace are not fighting game makers and have no idea how to make hitboxes, especially when it comes to arenas. So I might have to do some shenanigans to set this up, but hopefully Chris cooperates instead. So I want to see her move to the left at the end of the stairs there, just like that. That's perfect. Like, couldn't have asked for a better movement by her there. And that just lets me get easy access to dashing behind her. If she hadn't done that, it would have been a little bit of a pain. So she should be able to Soul Crush at this point, which I guess she chose not to. It's not a big deal. And really, I don't want her to, and if she's just going to let me wail away like that, I'm totally okay with that. Usually I would use her Soul Crush to regain AP, but she was nice today. So there's a ton of story that happens here, and a lot of things that happen that are explained a lot later as well. So unfortunately, I will probably be spoilering a bit of it. So if you're that invested in this, you know, maybe watching a speedrun isn't the best ideas, but...
What? Spoilers in my speedrun?
Seriously. So as our battle with Hrist wages, it turns out the mages that we defeated earlier weren't actually dead after all. They were feigning it, and Lazard notices that they are setting something up, it seems, or doing something mischievous in the background. But Lazard doesn't tell us that. You know, he again likes to keep his secrets to himself. But as the battle concludes, sort of with Hrist, we deal a flesh wound to her. And the mages take that as the opportunity for themselves to act. And what ends up happening is they cast a spell called Sovereign's Right. And that's the spell that performs the Valkyrie rebirth system, which allows their souls to go back to Valhalla and all of that fun stuff. And mortals are definitely not supposed to know this, but it appears that the research that the mages were doing in Japan bared some fruits after all. What that ends up doing is causing the soul of Silmeria and Hrist to kind of be in limbo for a little bit. And it just so happens that Freya is watching these events unfold as well, and decides to... Well, actually, there's one thing that happens before that. Dylan, our partner in crime for the most part in the first half here, reveals himself to actually be Brahms, the Lord of the Undead, which again, like I mentioned earlier, was kind of hinted at very vaguely. You're not really given that much of a warning for who Brahms is, but if you played Valkyrie Profile 1, you should know who he is, and at least that he at one point had the soul of Silmeria. And traditionally, if the storyline were to proceed as normal, this would be where he would be getting that soul. Freya interrupts all of this as she's like eavesdropping on all of this as well, and of course wants the soul of Brahms, or rather Odin wants the soul of Brahms for his own purposes as well. So she tries to freeze Brahms and actually succeeds. Traditionally, or normally, the Silmeria's soul is supposed to push Brahms out of the way. Brahms is supposed to fight off Freya, and then Brahms escapes with Silmeria's soul. But that does not happen in this particular sort of timeline, because Lazard happens to be casting something on the side, and we're not really supposed to know what that is, but let's just say that he is teleporting something somewhere. And for the most part, that wraps up the majority of the events there. Obviously, I'm spark noting it a little bit, but it's really a whole lot going on there and a lot to digest, and not a whole lot of time to go over it. But we are doing a little bit of shopping trip. I do have a fairly big menu to do. So I'll get back to our story once I finish that. Actually, yeah, why not? We can learn this now. It's not a big deal. Let me double check my attacks here. To check my notes, I mean. Other way around. I always mess that up. That's why we check notes. Alright, so shopping trip done. After all the events that played out, Brahms is gone, taken by Freya. Lazard is gone, so teleporting wherever. The souls of Harist and Silmeria are gone, and we're kind of just left high and dry about what to do. But Rufus, being the half-elf Odin replacement that he is, comes up with a plan and says, we should go to Bifrost and Asgard and Yggdrasil, and I'm going to become Odin 2.0. I'm going to redo the creation myth, basically. I'm going to summit Yggdrasil, gain all the knowledge and power that Odin has, and challenge him. Because we still need to get the Dragon Orb back. And I guess I didn't really explain that earlier, but the Dragon Orb is one of the 4 sacred artifacts that stabilize the realm that they exist in. So, like, the Dragon Orb existed here in Midgard and was stabilizing that. Gungnir is in Asgard, which Odin holds. And I believe Niflheim and Jotunheim have their respective artifacts as well, but it's not really mentioned. But if the artifact is to leave the realm that it exists in, obviously destabilizing something like that sounds like a bad thing and is actually a bad thing. I'm gonna try it. Okay, cool. That plant cooperated. That was a little risky, but oh well. So yeah, we still need to get the Dragon Orb back in order to prevent Midgard from being annihilated, basically. Oh, nice skip. I actually kind of wanted to take that fight, but oh well. Doing the skip is better than taking the fight. We'll come back when we are much stronger and annihilate that to learn the skill. Yeah, the fact that they even got the opportunity to do that skip is already rare, and actually doing it it's a very tight window to jump over it like that, because hitboxes, as I alluded to earlier with the whole arena bit, Trace and Square Enix are just not that great at it. But we've made it to the end of the Forest of Spirits here. We've literally run into a brick wall, and for whatever reason there happens to be this being guarding it, so that's a little suspicious. Maybe there's something special about this wall.
No, there can't be. There's just some guy standing in front of it.
Ooh, and he gives the moo start. I love that one. I don't actually know what he's supposed to be saying or doing, but I'm a big fan of it. Big fan.
No.
Unfortunately, Angel Rain here is kind of useless. It just wastes a lot of time. Had I lost poison on Alicia, that would have been a backup for the Black Crystal bonus, but didn't quite need it here, so it's just a pure waste of time. But oh well. Yeah, this is fine. That is less fine, but that's okay. We'll make it work. Hopefully. Yeah, there we go. This boss has a very crazy fast turn speed, which can make it difficult to set up this position right. Hopefully I'm still considered behind it. Actually, I think I'll just make the dash anyways. Should still have enough AP to finish it. Yeah. So the boss can be a bit of a troll, but it's fairly consistent in the right circumstances.
You think we humans are an unskilled...
And he moves one more time on the way out. So Rufus sees the wall and he's like, hey, this should definitely be the way to Bifrost or to Asgard. And lo and behold, that wall does let Rufus through, but there's a caveat to that, and it's that no mortal can pass through it. And Alicia is very much a mortal, and she's not a whole fan of separating with Rufus at this point, and neither is Rufus. Rufus doesn't want to give up on Alicia, so they kind of take a moment to rest and figure out what to do when they're attacked by some guards that are just on the patrol. So now we're just running away. We happen to run into a friendly elf here. I believe her name is Rosalie. Not really of consequence, but she decides to help us out for whatever reason because she recognizes Rufus as for what he is, because she knows that male elves are not supposed to be a thing, and pretty much is like, okay, well, you know, clearly he must be here for something important, right? This swap is kind of annoying. Oh, especially when I miss like that. Alright, patience. I'm trying to get up here to a sword that'll make Alicia pretty much broken. Oh, I forgot to jump. Haha! No big deal. We'll just do the setup one more time. Grab our sword, and on our way we go. But Rosalie helps us out, again, because she knows who Rufus is, and kind of in passing mentions, you know, you can't go through this wall unless you're a god or undead or something like that. And the word undead triggers the light bulb idea moment for Rufus and Alicia. They're like, well, we just witnessed some mages do it, so why don't we try that out? And they hatch this crazy plan to use Rufus's ring, which, as I told you before, stops the aging process, which also by proxy stops the decay process. So they're going to use that to prevent Alicia from turning fully undead. But the caveat, again, being that if Rufus does not have that ring on for, well, I guess exactly 8 minutes, his soul will burn away. And that's something that we're trying to prevent, so kind of catch-22? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. But we'll make our way to at least get the ghoul powder and see if our party decides that that's really the plan that they want to do. Spoilers, it is. So this is a whole lot of backtracking. Okay, it's been a while since you've been able to promote the marathon here, and I think this would be an ideal time to let everybody know why we're here. If she's even there. Well, that's okay. Yeah, we got tons of time.
I'm sorry, I literally stood up just real quick and then I guess I missed something. I'm sorry.
I was just saying this is just a huge backtrack area, a whole lot of nothing. So this would be a good time to tell everybody why we're here.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Which is funny because we wouldn't have been able to hear Mike because I couldn't hear Mike on the stream.
Oh, well, that's helpful.
So yeah, hi. For the RPG Valkyries, and you're watching RPGs We Love. This is a marathon that has been running since Sunday and is going until this Saturday to showcase various beloved RPGs by many awesome people. The money we raise will go towards paying the fees necessary for the RPG Valkyries to attend RPG Limit Break in May. That includes hotel, airfare, incidentals, and any extra money will be directly donated to NAMI, which is the charity of choice for RPG Limit Break. Two of our Valkyries, Silverfire and Sparkover, are going to be running Dragon Warrior Randomizer at RPG Limit Break, so thank you so much for helping us support getting them to the event. As far as incentives and donations go, I currently don't have any donations. Please donate so I can read your donation. I'm sorry. I think what I'm supposed to say is, I think you should donate to some incentives. And the incentives that you can donate towards right now are Ancient Roman, Power of Darkside. We can watch the cutscenes for only $65 more. It's at a total of 10 right now, and we need 75. And then we can unlock all dungeons in Phantasy Star with Mr. Starbird. And that's at $15 out of 100 right now. So, and you always want more Mr. Starbird. He is amazing. And I have a new pun for you, but give me just one quick moment to read it.
I welcome puns. With open arms. I'm terrible.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
So, Hugh Jackson stopped an order of monks from operating a business on his property. A group of friars had opened up a flower stand right next to his home without his permission. And said one of the friars, "If it was anyone else, we might have gotten away with it. Unfortunately for us, only Hugh can prevent Florist Friar."
Oh, wow. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you, Mike. All of these wonderful, wonderful puns are available to see on our incentives page.
I will definitely be checking that out afterwards.
So check it out now, and while you're there, check out the cool things you can donate towards.
So we're most of the way through our backtracking here. We did pick up our ghoul powder. We of course have not used it quite yet, since Talisha does not want to become fully undead, or more importantly to them, not kill off Rufus quite so early. But we're almost done with our backtracking. We just have one more quick passage through the Forest of Spirits. Do a quick menu. Well, I say quick menu and then I like double check everything. No big deal. I will safety save. There is a possibility to have that force encounter that I skipped once again, but at least this time I have my get out of jail free card, and if I have to use it, I certainly will. But I'd much rather skip it again. That would be nice to get it twice in a row. Oh, I did forget one thing after all. Always setting your attacks. That's something I always forget, especially at the last half of this game here. I guess that bird just doesn't want to swap today. That's fine. Not a fan of where this plant ended up. But he cooperated. That's fine. Normally, you don't want to be doing that jump there that far over, but so be it. No dice on the skip here. So I'll just use my get out of jail free card.
We have nothing to fear.
Ooh, especially with this formation. I'm glad that I have that, because I would probably be dead. So just before we enact our crazy plan of turning undead and almost killing Rufus, we are attacked once again by the guards, except this time we decide, or we, out of necessity, have to defend ourselves because we are still waiting on Alicia to fully turn undead. All of this will be happening shortly, making a safety save, of course. The running joke in the community is that this is the hardest fight in the game, when in fact, it's actually probably the easiest, but it's also the easiest to be really complacent on, and you don't want to die at this point.
Let us claim first blood. Attack!
So fortunately, no deaths today. Except for the guards here, but they were just doing their job. Little did they know Alicia is kind of a god at this point, or she's really blossoming into it, and it kind of just runs them over. But fortunately, Alicia does eventually become undead. We do make it into the passage here. So this timer down at the bottom left shows how much time Rufus has left before he disappears entirely. We definitely won't be needing the full 8 minutes, but yeah, I guess if I had it my way, poor Rufus wouldn't make it through here, but I'm not a huge fan of him. So, but Alicia, on the other hand, and the rest of the party seem to like him, so I guess we'll keep him around. There will be plenty more guards for you to F4 coming up, who are just doing their job. They showed up for their day job, and little did they know this undead lady is gonna just absolutely annihilate them.
Wham, bam, kablam.
So once again, here's a nice area where you can pick up poison. The game really likes to give it to you. There were quite a few places along the way earlier as well, but this one stands out to me a lot, given that it's usually where I get my backup poison from. These teleporters are the worst. As you saw, my photon just went right through it. It has very precise, or maybe not precise isn't the right word, but a very short window for when you can actually freeze them, which is, for whatever reason, different from the window that you can be in an encounter with them. So it's very tricky sometimes if you're trying to rely on them to move. And fortunately, that's pretty much our only major interaction with them. Otherwise, I don't know, I'd be pulling my hair out and going bald over some of them sometimes. But we've successfully made it through. Rufus gets to live, and Alicia is no longer decaying. So time apparently does not flow in Asgard like it does on Midgard. So Rufus is not decaying, and even if Alicia were to take off the rig that Rufus gave her, she would also not decay further than she already is. So she's in this like very mild undead form, and for whatever reason, she's totally okay with that. I do want to check my equips. I was doing a little light on damage earlier. Everything looks fine. So, I guess we're good. So we have a little mini gauntlet here. Once again, we have some guards who kind of just showed up for work. And have no idea the train that's about to run them over. But they like to boast, at least. Oh, they didn't even say anything. Alicia preempted them. They don't even get to say their last words.
I think you underestimated.
I think they did too, Alicia. So earlier I mentioned a potential backup for learning Magician Slayer, and this is the enemy that drops an accessory that we would be able to use for that. However, it is a giant troll. It's supposedly like a 90% chance to get it, but it never seems to drop when you need it, and only does when you don't need it. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get at least one here. Oh, that was interesting. He actually overshot Rufus.
Why can't I move?
That leaves me light on AP too. It might be fixable. Not like that. It's not really such a big deal. I just need to shimmy my way back there. A little too far. There we go. That should work. And I did not get the armor piercer, which is what is a 90% chance to drop there when I broke that back tentacle. So it's a good thing I did not rely on it. For our final fight here, we encounter Heimdall. In Norse mythology, he is the gatekeeper of Bifrost. And so I'm going to do a little bit of a safety heal there. It's not 100% necessary if I execute this exactly right. I will be trying out the risky strat because it's fairly consistent, but yeah, might as well heal just in case.
You sold your soul to the undead.
Oh yeah, those guards are not cooperating very well. It should still work though. Yeah, very nice. So we're gonna end up pushing Heimdall just out of range. If he were to use his circular AoE attack around him, which allows us to recover our AP, yeah, just like that. And hopefully he cycles out of that here. Yeah, perfect. Very nice, Heimdall. So as you saw, that was very close to being in range of him, and would have been bad times had I not safety healed. But pretty good Heimdall overall. Nothing to complain about.
You think we humans are an
Poor Heimdall is yet another victim in the terror wake that is Alicia. Well, we finally made it to Valhalla. Our party kind of has this inner turmoil of what to do. Alicia should, or suggests, going after the Dragon Orb and securing it for Midgard, but Rufus still wants to summit Yggdrasil and become the god that he is, and the group doesn't want to split up, so Rufus is like, well, that's where I'm gonna go, and Alicia is like, alright, well, yeah, I don't want to leave you either, so off we go to Yggdrasil. But at the same time, Odin realizes or can sense that Rufus has made it to Asgard and basically prepares himself for battle with Rufus. So little do we know, we are kind of walking into a trap. But yeah, off we go. And casually, this dungeon is a huge mess. There are so many side areas and puzzles and various other things to do here. And lots of really good equipment, including a second power bangle, the 2 of the 3, or second of the 3rd, is here. And it's very good to get casually, but we don't have time for that, because setting up for it is a giant mess. But casually, I would highly recommend it. And our cameo appearance of another Sealstone, we will finally carry something that isn't Sword Blessing for a little bit. Not for very long though, but first we gotta get through this fight here. That was kind of rude, guarding all my attacks there. Ooh, bloody patch. If this were a casual run, I would really enjoy that.
A strong enemy.
It's a very significant attack boost, but it requires HP to use, and unfortunately, being at 1 HP, we won't have HP to spend to get the increase that it gives. So, unfortunately, it goes to waste here, but that's like a really low % chance to drop, too. Ah, come on. This is like the worst crystal here. There we go. Once again, hitboxes are not so friendly sometimes. And so that was our one use of our new Sealstone there, just to unblock our way. And we will never be using it again. This flying enemy, on the other hand, is being really not nice. There we go. I need him to be flying over to the left so I can just sneak my way in and forget all about him. Like, live and let live, right? So, bye-bye magical Sealstone Blessing. Hello, or magical light blessing, and hello sword blessing again. I missed you. Of course. Always take one hit there. Those purple crystals are really annoying. They shoot out like 2 projectiles or whatever that just really do their best to ruin your day, as far as movement is concerned. And given that there were 2 of them there, like it's just even worse. Like it's an absolute nightmare if you don't even bother to kill one of them. So I just take one out for fun to make it a little less annoying to get through there. So we have arrived at the top of Yggdrasil. Unfortunately for us, Odin is waiting for us, and is definitely going to ambush us. Surprise. But Odin has 2 phases. The first phase, we just have to get him to under half HP, and then he will soul crush someone. And since his soul crush is single target, as long as anybody is alive, that's totally fine. So we choose Rufus for that job. And hopefully Odin and his arena don't troll me too much, because once again, hitboxes are the absolute worst enemy here. And this is kind of an unfortunate start, but we'll make it work. For once, Rufus gets to tag along on killing Odin. Usually we leave him behind. Oh, that's really nice. He refreshes my AP too. So unfortunately, having a few whiffs on attacks there, I didn't get to one cycle him, but that's more than enough for him to soul crush now. And I can move on with the fight. And Odin, I think, has a glitch with him because he can counterattack from behind. Like he grows eyes in the back of his head, and it's really weird. He's the only enemy in the game, I think, that ignores the back attack configuration for not being able to dodge and all that. But Odin kind of just straight up deletes Rufus. He's not quite dead, but he's definitely out of commission. Odin also happens to notice the mage Lizard is there via astral presence or astral projection, and what that allows Lizard to do is just traverse to wherever he likes, really, via spirit form. And shows up and says, "Oh, by the way, I wasn't actually like doing anything nefarious or anything. I just happened to mess up a teleport because of Freya." Or so he says. But now he's back to help us now that he found us at the top of Yggdrasil conveniently. So yeah. Well, Alicia's probably going to eat it here. Yeah. That's fine. We will just scrape her off the floor real quick. But yeah, totally not suspicious that Lizard happens to show up here. Definitely not foreboding in any way. I would really like to see him kill my other party, though. That would be great. Oh, and he clipped Alicia, of course. Like, that's also a really interesting attack in that it's got a very special hitbox that actually hits behind him, so getting a little unlucky with Odin here. But thankfully, having all the extra Union Plumes, no big deal. And now that half of our party is dead, we get our attack bonus via Solitary Struggle, so Odin gets mopped on the floor here. But the real interesting point here, now that we've essentially defeated Odin, Lizard makes a move, and he transfers the soul of Odin into Rufus, and that's something that no mere mage is supposed to be able to wield, especially not a human mage. But it's revealed to us that the soul of Silmeria is what he is using to kind of power his ability to use these spells that he's not supposed to be able to, along with the knowledge from the Philosopher's Stone that he acquired in Valkyrie Profile 1. So those two combined allow him to do some pretty unfortunate stuff to our gods, and especially to Odin. So he runs off with Odin's spirit in Rufus's body, and he runs off with Gungnir. And Freya witnesses all this, and she's just miffed and just runs off away from us. But Rufus's soul is now displaced, or was displaced after that, the soul transference. But Alicia, being the former vessel of the Valkyrie Silmeria, for whatever reason, Swiss cheese plot point right here, is able to take the soul of Rufus inside herself and is able to then materialize. Wow, this is an unfortunate attack pattern. Try and materialize Rufus, but we need an object for him to be grounded to, basically. Oh, well, I guess if he's just going to walk into my other party, that's fine. I was going to try and cycle his attack, but that works too. Fortunately, that does leave me a little light on AP, so I'm going to have to take it a little safe here. I did safety save just in case. Make use of these charge breaks. So yeah, that was kind of a troll white dragon. The whole reason we came down here is to recover the ring that Alicia lost, Rufus's ring that she lost in that battle. And we're going to use that to materialize Rufus back to this particular plane of existence. So we get our boy Rufus back. He's pretty happy to sort of kind of be alive. I don't know if I'd count that fully as alive, but he's here with us now. I guess technically the game considers him alive because he does have a stable existence later on as well. So for all intents and purposes, he was gone for a fight and now he's back. Yeah, as Rizard is pointing out in chat, there's actually so much that happens here that I really don't have all that much time to cover. Spark Notes version is what I'm giving you, but there's a whole lot of intertwining story elements and plot that it's actually fairly well done. There are a few Swiss cheese points where you can just poke holes all day and there's nothing to back them up. But yeah. So here we are in Valhalla. We are on the lookout for our Dragon Orb and also by proxy the Soul of Brahms. We don't know that he's actually here, but we will discover him later. But we just got to make our way to where we can find it. As we're exploring our way through Valhalla here, we run into Arngrim. And Arngrim has figured out that, you know, being an Einherjar really isn't all that. He profusely apologizes for what he did to Alicia's father and all that during the war in Japan. And eventually the party is like, all right, I guess we can forgive you for your transgressions and lets him come back and join us. We tell him about the whole spiel with Lazard, and he's like, oh, you know, that's not cool. And I want to help you guys out. So Arngrim rejoins us. And here we have the best security system in all of Asgard. Some magic urns. 2 sets of 3. I mean, I guess when you are, you know, the gods and all, you don't really need that high tech of security. But unfortunately, we have to make our way through them. Our first set is almost done, and the second set will be shortly after. Oh, I was actually up there. Interesting. Yeah, it's not even that difficult of a puzzle, but you know, they had to make it interesting somehow. Although I would hesitate to call it interesting, but you know. So we picked up our third power bangle, rather our second. If you were playing casually, this would be your third and final. It's, like I said, pretty broken when you stack all of them together. I mean, we're going to be pretty broken even without the third, so no big deal. So I guess if Kay is around, she can enlighten everyone about why we were here, and yeah.
Sure.
There's not a whole lot going on here.
So you're watching the RPG Valkyries, and right now this run is Valkyrie Profile 2, Silmeria,
Silmeria, yeah.
with the wonderful airemlis. Wow, I just realized your name is Silmeria backward.
Yep.
Wow, I wonder where you got your name from.
No idea, honestly.
That's just a coincidence. So after this, we're actually going to have 7th Saga Randomizer, then Ancient Roman Powered of Darkside, and following that, Phantasy Star 1 with Mr. Starbird. And we have some cool incentives for Ancient Roman and Phantasy Star. In Ancient Roman, you can watch the cutscenes, and I don't know if some of you were here for our run earlier in the marathon. We had Darkened Sky, Taste the Rainbow with Liz Star, and the cutscenes were amazing. So if we have a watch the cutscenes incentive, I assure you that is worth all the money. Currently, we're at $10 out of 75, so just $65 remaining to watch all the cutscenes, and that needs to be met before the beginning of the run. For Phantasy Star 1, we have all dungeons, which is at $15 out of 100. So please get your donations in for that. Otherwise, we still have a naming incentive for Ultima 4, named the Avatar. For Rhapsody, a musical adventure, we have choose the song language. Currently, English is winning with $8 and Japanese with 0. And if you donate to have all of the songs, we listen to all the songs in the run. And that currently doesn't have any money to it, so please, if you want to hear all the songs, get your money in. And finally, finale, get it? We have the sing-along finale, and that's at $110. I can read $10 out of 300. And when we meet that incentive, we will be opening up a bid war for the song that the Valkyries are going to sing.
Great, thanks for that information. I believe you also said that the language is an optional thing, and you're the only fluent one in Japanese, so if you want to torture them ahead of the fun corner that is available via the donation total, I believe that would be a good start. But here we have Freya. This acts similar to Odin, in that you just need to get her to about half HP in order for her to soul crush someone. Usually that ends up being Alicia, but since Rufus is alive, no big deal, and we get to move on. Some additional story that goes on here, though. Just before the fight with Freya, we find the Dragon Orb and Brahm's soul together by the water mirror for whatever reason, but Harist shows up and basically says, you know, I have this plan to go after Lizard to try and get Odin's soul back. She kind of just says outright, will you help me? We kind of agree, and then Freya rudely interrupts. But Hrist eventually comes to our aid and decides to essentially betray Freya and the rest of the gods in favor of seeking revenge and getting Odin's soul back. Which eventually Freya kind of just like realizes, yeah, I'm doing something dumb, but only after Hrist threatens her with the dragon orb, the power of the dragon orb. But we've made it to Lizard's dimension, and we're hot on his trail. And the ever so lovely Valkyrie Lyneth happens to be here and is like, hey, by the way, Lizard is kind of my mistake. He definitely shouldn't have been here, ruining your timeline, because he happened to have the Philosopher's Stone, and it was the only person who lived through Ragnarok in Lyneth's timeline, which basically allows him to be outside of Lyneth the Creator's reigns of fate. And yeah, so that's why Lizard actually is here. And she's like, I'm gonna help try and clean up the mess that I started. But by help, that just means we're gonna take her weapon. Sorry, Lyneth. Actually, I need to change her attack as well. Yeah, what's up?
When Mega Man wanted to trade in his armor for human clothes, his first stop was to Docker.
I love these. Keep them coming. So these little skeletons here are probably the worst enemies in the game, I would say. It's not like they do anything new, per se, but when they do summon reinforcements, they have this special ability for them in that case, is they can summon them anywhere on the map, which is normally not how reinforcements are added to the arena. So taking care of those is definitely something we want to do. Ooh, break mode, how nice. This lets me just wail away on this mini-boss here. So yeah. By the way, this was a mini-boss. Trivialized by break mode, which break mode happens... essentially, there's like a hidden counter in the background for each part of an enemy that you break. The counter goes up some value, and that value is your chance to activate break mode whenever you break a part of an enemy. So getting it there is actually pretty beneficial. Lets me just wail away on them like that. And Lizard has a little moment to himself. He says he can feel the soul of Lyneth there. His true ambition this entire time has been to be with her, or to have, I guess, control over her. I don't know. There's some weird things that Lizard does, but everything that he's done so far is to kind of lure her out, and yeah. So right here, I'm doing a save to save just before this mini boss. And hopefully I will not have to actually do this mini-boss. This is like the only actual, like, kind of skip in the game that's not intended at all. That's not the setup.
We can win. Trust me.
I have to do some very tight inputs to get the skip to work right. And basically, if I understand it right, it essentially tricks you, the game, into letting you get a second jump like that. But due to where you end up, because of it, I didn't get the sword swing. I'll give it a couple more tries. But due to where you end up after leaving the battle, the game doesn't really know where to put you, and just puts you on top of the enemy and lets you walk right over. So, trying to get this here. And the only time I use the D-pad. I don't think that works, but I'll try it.
Sorry, have to take a rain check. Maybe next time, okay?
No, not quite. I'll give it a couple more tries, and if Worst case, I will just outright kill it. Oh, that's a much better setup.
Let's just do what we do.
So this should be it.
Retreat!
And this is like by far one of the hardest tricks. Yeah, there we go. We got the skip there that time. I'm glad I didn't have to sacrifice myself to that mini boss, because usually when I try and kill it now, I mess it up very much so, because it's been so long since I've actually had to do it properly. I'm really, really glad to have pulled that off. And Arngrim gets to participate in a few battles finally. Unfortunately for him, most of that is as a sacrifice, but he has a very important job coming up. If you remember how I talked about gravity being your worst enemy, our next bosses are definitely about to find that out as well. So these are the homunculus for Silmeria and Lizard. They just were housing the souls for a while. Ooh, that's not a good start. That's okay though. Arngrim should live. Oh, except for being hit from behind. That's fine. I'll just scrape him off the floor real quick. And right off the side, hopefully, there she goes. So, one down, one to go. It's kind of a bad spot for Lizard to be in, but it should still work for sending him right off the edge. Yep, and there goes Lizard. So yeah.
Give it up already.
Gravity is by far the biggest enemy here, as it's already taken down a flying enemy, but we just gave it 2 more victims. But thanks to Silmeria, the homunculus of Silmeria, which housed her soul, Lizard doesn't really care about Silmeria, so she's just there, and Alicia, because of her ability to now materialize souls, we have Silmeria back with us. So we have all 3 Valkyries for a very short time here, or at least compared to the rest of the game. But unfortunately, we don't need them, because Alicia is our one true god, and we'll be dumpstering Lizard coming up here. But we're about to confront Lizard, and the real strategy, or the particular strategy for this first fight here, we just want to get behind him and push Lizard into Arngrim to make him into the sacrifice for AP that he normally is. So generally speaking, it's not too bad, not too terrible to do. So yeah, hopefully just good execution and no bad spells from Lizard there.
Yeah. Did you hear about Cloud's new outfit in Smash?
I have not. What is it?
He wears dungaree.
Very nice.
Would you like to hear me sing some more? Well, you can hear all the Valkyries singing at the sing-along finale. Oh, just $300.
I think that's something everyone should not necessarily endure, but participate in. So that'd be great if everyone could come together and reach that goal.
That'd be really awesome. And just to warn you all, I actually don't know any of the songs because I've never played Rhapsody of a Musical Adventure. I've wanted to for a really long time, but haven't. So I don't know any of them. It's going to be great.
So we've defeated Lizard there. We didn't quite kill him, or... Oh yeah, I did say that. Technically that wasn't actually Lizard either. I believe it was another projection of his, but he is a little miffed at losing to the Valkyries like this, and decides to cast Sovereign's Right to force the souls out of the of the Valkyries. And given that they are not in the normal realms, the souls have nowhere to go. And Lazard decides that he, or rather, not really decides, but crystallizes the soul of Lenneth and then runs away with the soul of Lenneth, which has been, like I said, his goal all along. So he finally gets his prize, and we are left with the tattered remains of Hurst and Silmeria's soul. But we come up with this plan to retrieve the souls, or the soul of Lenneth from Lazard, and then merge all these souls into Alicia. And this will kind of create this super Valkyrie to deal with Lazard. But first we need to get the soul back. And Lazard here taunting his new prize.
Ah, the power of the gods.
He's actually fairly quiet tonight. There's a chance for him to say anywhere from like 8 or 10 lines.
It was inevitable.
Although he did start there at the end, but we interrupted him, so... Sorry, Lazard. We got business to take care of. So for this fight, this first phase, we need to break the seal around the crystal there, and in order to do that, we need to hit Lazard anywhere between 1 and 3 times. Obviously, the ideal is to only have to do it once, but sometimes it's never lucky.
The god of death himself.
Yeah, 2 hits is fine. As you can see, Alicia is kind of just trucking this crystal. And that's mostly due to the fact that our other party members are dead, and she has pretty much an insane amount of attack at this point. So 2 attacks both times is pretty good. It's literally average luck. So yeah, first phase done. Second phase here. So now we've retrieved the soul of Lenneth, and we proceed with this whole merging process, and we create ourselves a very overpowered Super Saiyan Valkyrie. The consequence for that, however, is that it's not a stable entity. Like, obviously you're not supposed to have 4 souls in one body. So it's pretty much alluded to that Alicia won't be able to maintain this for very long, and we might be saying goodbye to some people other than the Einherjar we're releasing. Could opt to use Bloody Patch there, but I'd rather not, because I want to show off the swag kill, hopefully, which requires him to actually live through some of these attacks. So here's the final boss, the final form. It's a fairly free fight, even casually, just because of how overpowered Valkyrie actually is. But we're gonna do our best to make it a little scary, at least. Take a little bit of damage, you know. Seems like a good idea. Make Lazard feel good about himself, I guess. Make him think that he's gonna win this. Teleport is unfortunate. Mostly just a giant waste of time as he picks a new position on the map. Ooh, and then he gets a really bad attack there too. Inconvenient, to say the least. So we'll just cycle him out of that, hopefully. Yeah, that's much better. Alright. Should be good to set up here. I didn't quite get it. I accidentally attacked with Brahms first, but poor Brahms is going to pay the price for that. His Soul Crush doesn't really do that much damage to Valkyrie, so she's just left here, and we're just going to wail away on all Lazard here. And that's it. That is Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria. Since I'm quite a bit ahead of the estimate, actually, do you mind if we play out the ending for a bit?
Should be okay.
Great, thanks. It pretty much wraps up the story, so that's why I asked, and I don't want to give the Spark Notes version, so...
Lenneth's spirit. Lenneth's soul. It all belongs to me! Now die, you damned human!
A soul is something no other can possess.
A god is not as almighty as I expected.
Now you see. Nothing can rule another's heart. Nothing. You have toyed with countless souls. You have used Gungnir to wreak havoc and destruction on the world. For these sins you will pay with your soul.
I have lost. Alicia? Alicia! 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 The future that Alicia wanted. The world has become so twisted and distorted. It can't be left like this. Someone has to straighten it out. That someone is us. Who else can do it? I'm going to Asgard. Gungnir is the key. It needs to be returned for Asgard to be safe.
I doubt we undead would need battle the gods any longer if you were their king.
I wonder how old Freya will take it.
Good luck, friend. I don't know how, but in this world, I'm no longer undead.
What do you mean?
I feel mortal. It's the sensation I once felt long ago. It's not bad. This is a good place to die.
You're going to stay here?
There's no other place to go for this demon.
The same goes for me. I'll join you.
No, you won't. You were once human. You have work to do. The task of repairing Midgard still looms.
What? You want me to be Guardian of the Orb?
Who else is there? We all end up where we belong.
Let's go.
Yeah, Brahms just falls over like a tree there and decides that I guess he's had his fill of vengeance against the gods now. But that's it for me. There is a little special scene at the very end here. That's all the way through the credits. I definitely won't make you sit through that. Where you see Rufus in a village, and a child is running by, and the child looks exactly like Alicia. So you're kind of led to believe that even through all that they've been through, she is reborn and she's able to participate in the world again as a whole new adventure for her. So I would do some quick shout outs. Shout out to Rizard. Without him, I wouldn't be where I am today. With this run, I would probably still be trying to find my way to route it myself. So yeah, big shout outs to him. The rest of the Tri-Ace community, also very helpful and has a lot of resources for this game. And shout outs to the RPG Valkyries for hosting this event and allowing me to showcase it for you guys. I really appreciate it, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'm airemlis, and hope you have a good rest of the marathon.
Thank you so much, airemlis, for the cool run. I still have questions, like why did her ring fit him? I don't know, but that's okay.
Actually, I could kind of answer that for you right now. Rufus actually makes fun of her earlier on for wearing it. He says, "This ring is too big for you. You shouldn't wear it." And she's like, "Oh, it's my good luck charm now." And then at the very end, or not the very end, but when she materializes Rufus again, Rufus is like, huh, that ring actually kind of suits you now. So it's kind of the little romance back and forth there with them. It kind of builds up the emotions, so.
Emotions. Oh, I see. Well, thank you.
Yep.
So you're watching RPGs We Love. The marathon has been going all week. If you check out our schedule and are like, hey, I want to see something that was already run, we'll have all of the VODs highlighted. We're going to put them up on YouTube, so definitely check those out. We still have plenty of runs coming up. Next up, we're going to have 7th Saga Randomizer, so please hang out and enjoy.